Right. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm Shakthi, and now the good thing is that you have heard that I was an ex-ranger, a very nice introduction, but there's a reality and truth behind that, I was actually a borderline son. Yes, a borderline son. Now this goes back 25 years ago, so I'm going to actually share with you something that I wouldn't be too proud sharing. Well, if you asked me this about a couple of years back. Now, 25 years ago, I was a poly student, and my life was such, I was going with the flow, and my only purpose in life is not to repeat and just make sure that I pass my exams. Why? Because my father, a typical Indian father who will only talk to me for two reasons. One, when he needs to discipline me, or the other one, when he have really a good advice for me. So, the only thing I was doing is every day waking up, going to school and just say, don't repeat, Sakthi, do whatever you want, but don't repeat. Now, that's how my life went on. And, true enough, everybody took about 3 years to finish the course, and I took slightly longer, 4.5 years, to finish my diploma. And now I was waiting for my enlistment into the army. I never had this thought of becoming a career soldier or becoming the next Rambo, nothing. Just go to army and serve it. So just prior to my enlistment, I was waiting, and then my dad, one of those Sundays told me, Sakthi, I need to talk to you. And, as usual, being the good son, I say, yes, Dad, what's up? And he said, Sakthi, I realize that you have a special affiliation for borderline. Your grades in school, borderline. So, I have to limit my expectation. You will never become the next lawyer, doctor, or engineer. Sports, borderline. Now, you go for the selection, you don't make it for the team. Even if you do, you are sitting in the bench. As a son, borderline. Now, if I tell you to go down to buy for me papers, you go down, come back 2 hours later, playing with all the kids under the block without the papers. So his advice at the point of time was, Sakthi, the best advice I can give you is start a career defending the borderline of Singapore. Now, that was the exact advice he gave me. Now, at that moment, it hit me hard. But trust me, this is not the actual story. I was like, my dad called me borderline. How worse can it get? But I realized, life goes on. And I went into the army. And another advice he told me was, Sakthi, when you go to army, whatever they say, fake it till you make it. Just say, yes, sir, and carry on. That's the next advice he gave me. So I was in the military, again, not knowing what I was expecting. And then it happened, right? Since I'm a borderline son, or that's what my father told me, why not be the best? Rise above mediocrity, the best I can be. Not comparing to other soldiers, but just to myself, my own potential. So I realized, okay, let's have a purpose, let's try something new, right? Let's have a purpose. Let's be the best in what I can do in the army. So, and I was sitting, and then one of those field trainings out, I saw this guy walking down. Now, frankly, he was like the Chow Yun Fat, walking slow motion, something like a god of gambler, walking, and everybody standing up, saluting to him. And then I realized he was like a walking Christmas tree with all those badges. Now, thinking, who's this guy? Everybody is saluting to him. And, his uniform is full of badges. And now, this is someone that I want to emulate. If I have this, my father will accept the fact that I'm no more borderline. So I went up to him and said, sir, can I just ask you a question? Now, who are you? And why are everybody saluting to you? Remember, at that point of time, I'm still bored, young recruit, not knowing anything about what to expect the army. And then he told me, son, well, I'm a soldier, and I'm an officer, and I'm in the special forces, and I have all these badges, and that's why people are, saluting to me, because I managed to achieve this. And that's it. That's it. And at that day, I told myself, that's it. I'm going to get every single badge that Singapore Armed Forces is going to offer, and that's what I'm going to do. And from then, I became an airborne ranger. And then I went for every single confident course, from jungle confident course and everything. I became a captain, 12 years in the army, married, with a daughter who was about 4 years old then. That was about 12 years ago, right? And I went up to my dad and said, Dad, look at me. Do you accept the fact that I am no more a borderline son? Then he looked at me and said, yeah, okay, not bad. And then the truth came out. Now, the only reason why he called me a borderline is not because he wanted to humiliate me, but because of the fact that the only way he can challenge me to, rise up and do things beyond or to reach my potential was when I'm being challenged. So, now that I know that I was not a borderline son, I realized that that's it. It's time for me to go to the next challenge, right? What's up? And 12 years in the army, I decided it's time for me to move on and, bigger aspirations, become an entrepreneur. Right? Sexy word, right? Entrepreneur. Start my own business, earn more money, take care of my family, and of course, spend more time with my daughter. Now, when I was in the military, I was afraid she will call me uncle because I was never home. So, I was thinking it's more appropriate for me to spend or put myself in a position or a career that I can spend more time with her. So I left with a lot of aspirations, businessman, entrepreneur, a lot of money, big continental cars. So I left 12 years ago, and 8 months after I left, this is the actual truth. I was not making 1/5 of what I was making as an SAF regular. I was behind my bills, and I was basically depleting my savings. In fact, it was ground zero, and that's my situation then. So I was walking around asking myself, Sakthi, was that a wrong decision that you took? Why do you leave SAF? I mean, there are so many people who told you that you should have just stayed in a stable career, pay your bills. Why would you want to rock the boat? So, I had to go through this dialogue with myself for the last 8 months, when things were really bad. Every time I see my paycheck, I was like, wow, it's like, what am I going to pay first? Is it going to be my telco bill or my power bill? I had to decide. It's not a very hard decision, but that was what I was going through. And my girl was in kindergarten. Now, this fateful day, now I will say things changed, or I think I came to a level of enlightenment and awareness of what mental health or the importance of mental health due to a book that cost $10. I picked up from a school, and we were walking home, and they have those makeshift bookstores where they don't accept nets, only cash. You can actually buy certain books. So my daughter, she straight away ran to the bookshop, and she straight away picked up a book, and she said, "Pa, can you buy me this book?" It's a small girl, right? 5-year-old girl picking up a book, and she was so excited. And when I looked at her, I said, "Yeah, fine, it's a book, right? I mean, what else? Just a book. Why shouldn't I buy for her?" And then I saw and I asked the lady, how much is this? She said $10. I said, "Yeah, $10, fine, why not?" And I reached out in my pocket, and I realized I had $7 in my pocket. Fine, no worries. I just got to draw money at the ATM, right? So I told her, just keep the book, we'll be back. When I went to the ATM, what I realized is that I had less than $20, which means I couldn't even draw any money from the ATM. Reality hit me. I had no money. And now the question is, am I going to tell my daughter I can't afford the book? So that was the moment I had to do one of the most despicable thing in my entire life, to lie to a 5-year-old girl. Trust me, I was so, I was thinking of how do I go about convincing her that the book was not the best book or it's not worth buying. But I did fine. I can't remember what I told her. But end of the day, after convincing her, and I still have doubts whether she was convinced, or telling her that I will not buy the book because it's not worth the money and so on. All the excuses, right? All I could remember was this, the look in her eyes, disappointment and confusion. And then she said, "Fine, Dad, fine." And we walked home. Now that was the beginning. The book that cost $10, I couldn't buy that for my girl. That was the beginning of me feeling worthless. As a dad, I couldn't even buy a book. And I was talking about aspiring to have a business, to give her the best in the entire wide world, whether it's education and anything, and I couldn't buy her a book. And that started eating me. I was at home, and I was thinking, should I tell this to my wife? Should I talk to a friend of mine to share with them how I felt at the moment? But because I was a ranger, right? Soldier, ranger, I'm strong, I'm mentally fit, nothing is wrong with me. Why should I share? Let me handle my own problem. So I decided to just keep it to myself. Now, every single day, I started realizing that, I started having a lot of thoughts in my head, flooding. It's like, Sakthi, you are worthless. Sakthi, you are not able to even do a simplest thing of buying a book. Sakthi, you lied to a 5-year-old girl. How are you going to face that truth for the rest of your life? And so these things start coming up to me and say, Sakthi, you made the bad decision. Sakthi, I had so many voices. And every day I was sitting down there and I started realizing that I could not sleep well. Now, I was very conscious about my physical health. I at least run 6 to 7 times a day. I watch what I eat. But I realized that soon I was I was feeling tired. I didn't feel like I want to go run. I was like sitting down there. I didn't want to call my clients. So things just went. I got irritated easily. I got angry. And these were the things that were happening. And that's when I realized that I needed help. And that's when I actually decided to talk to my wife. And that is the one thing that I learned. The courage to accept the fact that I need help. That was the biggest thing that I realized that I had failed to do all this while. So when I talked to my wife, I realized that she reassured me. and she told me that I should talk to a person, a close friend of mine, who's right now my business partner, and we sat down and talked. And now, what I need at the point of time is a listening ear and a direction that there is hope, that I can make things happen, and I'm fine, I'm not worthless, and that's what happened. So when I recollect this whole experience, now it may be trivial for a lot of people. It's like, hey, you just couldn't buy a book for your daughter, so what's up, Sakthi? What's so difficult about that? What's so big about that? But it was at that point of time. And the key lessons that I learned was, now the first thing is, you need to have the correct connections. You need to have people that you can openly talk to them. And we need to be clear that we should accept the fact and have the courage and take the first step to tell them that we need help. Maybe not monetary help, but at least a listening ear. We need help for somebody to give us a direction, give us some sense of hope that things can be done. And like what our previous speaker says, like if you need professional help, then they should be there to tell you that. And you should do that. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. Now, number two is, don't take anything personal, right? It's issues. If you don't achieve a goal, fine. So what? What's the worst can happen to you? Life still goes on. So don't take it personally. It's not about us. It's not about self-worth. It's just that we don't have the correct resources and information at the point of time. Again, ask. So don't take it personally. Always have a healthy self-esteem. Now the third thing is find meaning. Now I realize that every challenges that I've been having, recollect back all your challenges you had, there's always a meaning behind it, a learning lesson. Try to find the learning lesson. And once you know that the learning lesson is clear to you, you realize that there is a reason why you're going through that. And there's a way that you can respond to that. And last of all, I would like to say is that get a purpose. Always feel that whatever you're doing, whatever challenges that you are having, there's a reason behind it because there's something bigger that you're looking at. So these were the 4 key lessons that I learned during this session. And now, the most scariest thing is when I was aware, or much more aware, right now, because the awareness for mental health is much higher compared to those days, I realized that I was actually having symptoms of depression, but I did not even know that. And that was the most scariest thing, right? It's like I could have made a choice of just, going on with it, and things could have been much more worse. But unknowingly, I made a choice of saying I want to talk to someone. So right now, with this awareness, I think we all have a choice. All right. Now, every one of us are going through our own heart battles. All right, and that's the reality. So the key thing is we need to accept the fact that sometimes when things doesn't happen our way, it's not because we are worthless or we are not capable of doing things. It's because of the situation. We have to accept it and have the courage to ask for help. And if we are told to have professional help, why not? Go for that. And what's more important is that we have a choice. Now, for myself in this situation, what I realized is that I was fortunate. I was really, really fortunate that there was somebody out there to help me. I took the courage, my wife was there, and I had a good friend, and from there things took a turn. But there are many other people who are unfortunate or not as fortunate as me. So I think this is where a big shout out to Project Green Ribbon, the kind of activities they are doing, the volunteers coming together, and even today, there's a lot of hard work put behind every single speaker coming up here. Not just the speakers, but a whole lot of crew out here. Now, these are all effort being done by them. So I think what I will say is that we all have a responsibility, a choice that we can make to give a lending hand, to make a difference and an impact. Why? Because it is what we can do. It's not how much time you have or what we do with the time we have, but it's actually what is the impact that we make to other people. So if you think that you need help or you need to talk to someone, go out there, talk to people. And if you think that you are able to make a difference to others, then, as we said, and what Adrian said previously, give your love, and also, there's a fundraiser happening, so do feel free and donate generously, so Project Green Ribbon can go about reaching out those people who need that help, that support that we all require. So with that, I think what's more important is, let's rise above mediocrity and fight the battles that we have, and also give a lending hand to others who might need that help. Thanks.